Jason, we don't have any sound, if that makes a difference. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. It's January 13th, 2026. We are just a hair past 7 p.m. We're going to begin our meeting as we typically do. That's with a prayer and the pledge. Providing our prayer tonight is Ryan Flatt. He is the events coordinator with Recovery Refuge and part of Long Hollow Church. Ryan, we appreciate very much what you do for our community, what your church has been doing for our community for 48 years, almost 50 years, I think that's the case. So thanks very much for being here, and thanks very much for leading us in prayer.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you tonight, and we just thank you for the city. We thank you for the people that call it home. Lord, we ask for your wisdom, clarity, and discernment for our mayor, the aldermen, and all who lead this community. Lord, we just ask that your presence be in this room, Lord, that we just pray for safety for our first responders, protection for our families, and continued peace within our community. Lord, we ask you to be with the officer that was in the collision a couple weeks ago. Lord, we pray for Officer Braxton, and Lord, just his speedy recovery. We just pray that all that is said and done here tonight is done with respect, not out of selfish ambition or personal desire, but with sincere commitment to this community and everyone in it. Lord, we place this meeting in your hands. Amen.
Thank you, Ryan. Again, that's Ryan Flatt with Long Hollow Church. Appreciate it very, very much. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome back. I need a motion to accept the agenda. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin, a second from Alderman Skidmore. I would like to, let's go to Alderman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move that we group all of the items and other agenda items, appointments and reappointments to boards and committees to a single motion.
Okay. Second. Okay, so we have a second from Alderman Garton. So we will take those as one item. If somebody has an objection to that and wants to speak on one specific appointment, now's the time to make that statement. Otherwise, if we vote and this passes, we will vote on all of them together. All those in favor of voting on all the other agenda items under Section 9 together as a group with just one vote, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Okay. Let's see, Alderman Garton, I know you had something.
Yes, I would like to remove item 1 under the consent agenda.
Okay.
They'll no longer be needing our space.
Okay.
For that date.
Need a second, please.
Second.
A second from somebody down there. Was that Alderman Evans? Oh, okay. Well, it will be Alderman Goodwin. So we're going to remove item 1 under consent agenda, the only item under consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank y'all. And then one other item. I sent this to you last night. And again, I apologize that I waited so long to send this to you last night. My nomination for our fire chief, George Edwards. Typically, we place that with appointments toward the end of the agenda. Does somebody have a better idea? So, Alderman Goodwin, go ahead.
I would like to move that right after citizens' comments.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second from Alderman Garza. Okay. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor of moving the nomination and appointment of George Edwards to the place on our agenda right after citizen comments, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Hold on one second. Tam, we're not going to get caught up. Okay. Any other discussion or motions concerning the agenda? So where we are right now is we've removed consent agenda item number 1. We've added George Edwards' appointment under citizen comments, after citizen comments, and we have grouped all the appointments A through L for one vote on the back page. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda as it's been amended, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all for that. Next, we have announcement of the Festival of Lights. Who is doing that? Oh, perfect. Good to see you, Natalie. So go ahead.
Good evening, Board. I'm Natalie Langster. I'm the Park Special Event Program Supervisor.
And I'm Rachel Ink with Holiday Fest.
First and foremost, we want to thank everybody that participated in the Festival of Lights. We had 40 houses on the list this year. Really good competition. I drove by it myself, all of them. Also, make a point, thank you to everybody that participated in driving through them. We ran the numbers for the month of December in Memorial Park, which it starts and ends in Memorial Park, and 10,000 people drove through the park in the month of December. First up, we have Best Overall, which goes to 99 Blue Ridge Trace.
Come on, Jamie.
Okay.
My electric bill helped fund this meeting.
I think.
All right.
Next, we had Clark Griswold, which goes to 1078 Avery Trace Circle. The next one's most lit, the most lights. 1568 Drakes Creek Road.
It's gotta be close to Mark.
The next one was Reason for the Season.
Here we go.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Reason for the Season. This one's Best Nativity Scene. This one went to 126 Twin Bay Drive. The next one is Most Traditional. This one went to 100 Lucinda Lane.
So who do you want in your picture? You get to choose.
And the final one is Neighborhood Harmony, and that went to Santa Claus Lane, which is also Nathan Forest Drive. Again, thank you everyone for participating. We look forward to next year. Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Natalie. We don't have any public hearings, and next I need to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes that were provided to you in your packet for our December 9th, 2025 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Dixon and a second from Alderman Ward. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the minutes that were provided to you, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have citizen comments. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, that's me, not to aldermen, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office will not be allowed. First one we have is Cal Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board. My name is Cal Gentry, 112 Keene Valley. I'm acting project manager for the Grace Place site on New Shackle Island Road. First of all, I wanted to say that Grace Place truly appreciates BOMA's support all the many times we've been up here. Y'all have been wonderful to work with and supportive of our project. We appreciate that. You know, in this day and age, very few for-profit projects get off the ground, and even fewer nonprofit projects get off the ground. But at Grace Place, we make great strides. If you haven't driven by on New Shackle, We started site work last May in 2025, and we should finish up, weather permitting, this March in 2026 with the entire site for all the pads and everything, landscaping and all. All 13 homes in our first phase of the home construction, as well as the education center, have been framed and have started rough in. So there's truly something to see if you drive by over there. We welcome you to come take a look. We can honestly now see where these mothers and their children will live and begin to heal. So this is a wonderful outcome. I brought some friends with me tonight, just rather than have everyone speak in support on this item number 2. We're talking about the tree ordinance of revision. If I could just get a show of hands of the ones that came in support of us. Grace Place, thank you. I just want to, nonprofits, they use every nickel possible to serve their mission. So every nickel saved, if this ordinance passes by Grace Place, is used to put another family back on their feet. So that's why we're so supportive of this. The benefit of this ordinance revision is that while it will affect very few projects, because so few nonprofits do development, it will have an outsized effect on the projects it does involve in. So we appreciate your consideration of this ordinance that's before you, and for considering this next step in helping Grace Place achieve their mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. Appreciate that. Next, we have Chris Taylor, Trout Valley Drive.
Hi, Chris Taylor, 115 Trout Valley Drive here in Hendersonville. First and foremost, I just want to kind of piggyback on that. It's God's work, clear and through, and I'm so proud that our community is the one that's embraced it and hasn't shied away from it. I just hope all of you keep chugging along on that one. It's going to be a grind, but it's going to be a grind that rewards us in more ways than we can ever think of. And 30 years of law enforcement experience, I can tell you the worst thing I ever saw was families out because of drugs, because of domestic violence, because of all the horrible things that happen to kids. And to have someone that's their focus is the most incredible thing in the world. And I just can't harp on enough how important it is, because, we're called to protect widows and children, and that's the work they're doing. So it's pretty amazing. So that part. What I'm also here to speak about is impact fees. I know that's terribly exciting compared to Grace Place, and about 25 years behind. But the one thing I want to suggest to y'all, from a county point, when I was on the planning commission, what we'd always do is we kind of strong-armed everybody, and it worked really well. And the reason I say that is we didn't have set impact fees, so our local builders, some are here tonight, were fantastic, because they would grab projects, and they had to stay here, so they didn't want to have a crap project. They'd put in the infrastructure. They'd do the things the right way. It was the out-of-state builders that we had to really struggle with. So I would just say, when you look at impact fees, you give up that leverage to be able to get more than the minimum. Because when you establish the impact fee, just understand that's the minimum. You're not going to get any more than that, because you're telling them they don't have to do any more than that. And I just hate for you to limit yourself that way. I just think, and especially because we're so far down the growth path. I mean, you're not going to capture the residential stuff. Like I said, we're so far away from that. The only thing I know you're probably going to move forward with that, so I would just please ask you to strongly consider the mayor and Ms. Collins' resolution. The reason I say it, just from an ECD point of view, commercial and industrial pays 40 cents on the tax, 40% tax, compared to residential's 25. There's been a million studies. Jay Ritterback's done a bunch for y'all, where you can see that, residential, it's hard to argue it pays for itself. You have to start looking at all the secondary things, sales tax, everything that comes from it. Commercial's really easy. When you look at commercial, when you look at industrial, it's a surplus every time. It brings in more property tax. It's going to bring in sales tax. There's also all the secondary things you're going to grab from it. I would just ask you to please, please avoid doing anything with the commercial or industrial. And the reason being is, Hendersonville's really made a lot of hay the last couple of years bringing in some industry. And if you're not familiar, Lincoln Properties has made a lot of investments, over $10 million just in one property alone. You've got people willing to come in. They're looking at redoing Rockland Road, different things like that. And those are some really big changes that we need. Not to mention the investments that they're doing from that point of view of just putting in hundreds of millions of dollars into our city that we can turn around and tax them for. So don't make it a deterrent. Please, Gallatin's getting ready to kind of come to a grinding halt, and we'll just leave it at that. We can really benefit in Hendersonville from that. There's no reason. I know we talked about it. Why did ML Rose and Edley's and everything on that side? Where were they on the Gallatin side? Well, they made it easier. Please don't make it harder. And I just ask you for that. We don't want to lose out on what we've done such a great job of, which is making this an amazing place to live, an amazing place to start and do businesses. Please continue to do that. There's going to be a time throughout the state where we're a location for somebody's, headquarters. And that's a big deal. We talk about different things like that. When you start bringing in, large corporations, their headquarters, that's when you start talking about really generational change for money. Because when I say, not that we're having to pay it, but it starts taking that onus off of property tax from residents, which is a big concern. It takes off the onus for having infrastructure from residents. So I really would hope you just please consider leaving the commercial and the industry alone. The residential, I get, if you got to do it, you got to do it. And then the last point I'd like to make is having been in your seat before, you don't get to hear a lot of the good stuff you do. Y'all did an amazing job when it came to the traffic plan. Great hiring Miss Locke, for starters. Working with Keith Free in the planning, y'all put together those 36 projects. And if you're not familiar with it, please take a time to look at our city's website. It's got 36 projects listed.
Chris, 30 seconds.
That directly impact traffic efficiency. Amazing work on y'all's part. I thank you so much. That was so progressive and so forward-thinking. A lot of municipalities need to jump on board. That's it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Next, we have David Lucky from Clarendon Place.
I've got a handout.
Okay. Here.
Well, Cal did such a good job having everybody raise their hand that was for Grace Place. I want everybody to raise their hand that's against impact fees. You don't know, Cal and I worked together for 17 years, and so I got to take a little credit for him. He's doing a good job. So David Lucky, 110 Clarendon Place, local builder, developer, investor, business person. The last time I was up here and spoke against impact fees, I'd provided my position paper. And, I talked about the strong financial position of the city, the adverse impact on housing affordability with the impact fees on residential, and the Tischler Buys study. Since that time, I've done a lot more research, a lot more, review of the whole thing. And I really want to just read some facts and observations that y'all can take into account as you look across this, and then I'm going to touch on the commercial like Chris did in the residential. Generally speaking, the city's strong financial position is an enviable one to be in, but some of the points that I'm going to make are really addressed to the commercial. The impact fee that y'all want to pass has to have a study. The study needs to be reviewed every 5 years. The data and assumptions that are in this study are what drives the fees and the proposed fees in this study. They come up to a rational nexus of need, benefit, and proportionality. Over the last 5 years, the Hendersonville population has grown 4.2%, 4.26%. The study says in the next 5 years that the population is going to grow 12%. The study picks up at 2026 with a population of 68,000. We're currently about 64,900. So right out of the gate, the study's got some flaws in it based upon the population growth that's presented in here. And it appears to me, based upon that there's about a 2.5 to 3.5 times inflation in the study's numbers of what they have proposed based upon solely on population growth. If you distill this down, everything that's driven in this is about population growth. The study shows the fiscal year 2025 numbers through the 2035 numbers of a 20% population growth. In the last 5 years, we've had 4.6. Over the next 10, we're not going to have 20%. There's not 20% worth of places to put people. The city, over the last 5 years, the general fund balance has increased from 18.7 to $44.7 million. That's a huge number. Over the same period of time, the sales tax revenue has gone up 92% over the last 5 years. I think it would be remiss and very detrimental to commercial construction or commercial development to impede that type of growth with commercial development or with an impact fee on commercial development. Your overall total revenues have gone up over 40% in the last 5 years through reassessments and sales tax increases. So I want to talk about the study and the reason and the rational basis behind it. And so the rational basis is that the city needs more money to provide for future growth. Well, with all the increases in the increasing spending, the city doesn't need extra money for additional growth, to fund additional growth. The builders and developers provide all the roads, water, sewer. What we're talking about is incremental improvements based upon population growth. What I would suggest is you take that, what I've said, into account, and you take it with moderation, and you address it with moderation.
David, 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, this has gone by a lot faster than what I had intended. So I'm not really known for talking a whole lot. Well, my whole point is that, commercial, really bad. You've got some level of precedent set for the residential where you exact fees. I think exacting fees, as Chris said, can have a beneficial effect on the product you get, and it can directly relate to the money spent on that particular development. If you have an impact fee, you're just going to have that impact fee, and that's going to be it.
David, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item we have on the agenda is the nomination of George Edwards to be our fire chief. The way that works is for department heads is that the mayor is responsible for making those nominations. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen have the opportunity to approve that or deny that. Those are the only choices you have. I've got to say, though, that here's how we got to this to this point. We started a recruitment process a couple months ago, and we held a national recruitment for applicants from across the whole country. We had several apply from outside Hendersonville, outside Tennessee. We invited 6 candidates for interviews, and we required the candidates to submit a written memo within 24 hours of the interview. So after they did the interview with our interview panel, we sent them an email later on that day and said, you have 24 hours to respond to us on how you would handle this situation. And it was a situation that's very apropos to the work as a fire chief. George Edwards was unanimously selected as the top candidate. The interview panel consisted of Goodlettsville Fire Chief Scotty Bush, Assistant Police Chief Josh Morrison, HR Manager Amanda Grider, and Jesse. I continue to hear from city staff, as well as Jesse does, that George Edwards is well-respected and an effective leader. He's been doing this job on an interim basis for almost a month. Jesse and I keep waiting for red flags, and we get the opposite. So I'm going to make that nomination. Alderman Goodwin, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. I just would like to say, as Public Safety Chair, I've gotten to work with Chief Edwards for the last 2 or 3 years. It's been an honor, a pleasure. I've had a lot of people contact me to show their support for Chief Edwards, and it will be an honor for me to cast my vote to vote for George.
Thank you, Alderman Goodwin. Chairman, will you call the roll, please? Oh, yeah, I do. Good point. There you go.
Bergdorf,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Dixon,
Aye.
Evans,
Definitely yes.
Garten,
Aye.
Garza,
Aye.
Goodwin,
With honor.
Martin,
Aye.
Roberson,
Of course.
Sassy,
Absolutely aye.
Skidmore,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Clary.
Yes.
It's close.
It's a close one.
George, congratulations. Good header. George, we have 20 minutes set aside for a speech. Honestly, if you'd like to say something, why don't you grab Alderman Evans' microphone over there if you want to address us?
Put you on the spot.
Hold on here.
Probably
All right,
gonna
good.
fix
Go
this
ahead.
way. Nothing prepared. Just thank you all for your trust and your support and giving me an opportunity to lead a wonderful group of people, highly skilled, talented people who I biasly think make up the best fire department in the state of Tennessee. I appreciate all the words of encouragement and the kind words that everyone has taken my way here in the last couple of weeks. It means a lot to me. We've got a great foundation that has been put in place over the last 10 years. We're going to continue to work as hard as we can to be the most successful fire department, be proud and be something proud for all the citizens here in the city of Hendersonville. So I thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
So under consent agenda, that one item has been removed, so we're on to ordinances and resolutions. The first item we have is Resolution 2025-43. This is a resolution to authorize waiver of payment into the Tree Bank Fund for qualifying nonprofit organizations. Alderman Robertson and Evans, would you like to make a motion? We have a motion from Alderman Robertson and a second from Alderman Evans. I want to read something here real quick, just sort of explain where we are, and then I see a couple people have already pressed their buttons. I just want to explain how this happened and why I suggested this in the first place, considering we've had the tree fund for a couple decades. Several months ago, I had a conversation with Cal Gentry. Cal's, I'm pretty sure, is still here, and Greg Yandell. And they're both on the board, or at least very involved with Grace Place. They mentioned to me that Grace Place had just paid the city $58,000 into the tree bank. The tree bank was created a couple decades ago to protect the tree canopy in Hendersonville. Several cities have this. It's nothing really that unique. But when the idea is when trees are removed in Hendersonville, very often on private property, we want to make sure that they get replaced either on that private property or somewhere else. Ideally, it would be back on that property. However, sometimes the development that's happening on that property is going to take up too much space, so they can't. So those trees can't be replaced right there. If the lot does not offer enough space, then through the ordinance that we've had for a couple decades, the city allows the property owners to provide funds for trees to be planted somewhere else in replacement. The lot that Grace Place is building on used to be covered with trees. I mean, it was basically woods. There is no way that Grace Place could build what they wanted to with their ministry and replace all those trees on the same property. So Grace Place wrote a $58,000 check for a tree bank. I must admit that when I heard that, I was a little bit uncomfortable. I fully stand behind our tree replacement policy and the ordinance we've had for a long time, but the $58,000 from a nonprofit ministry, it made me pause a little bit there. It was unsettling to hear. I thought, isn't Grace Place already doing enough for the community without giving the city $58,000? Obviously, I feel that Grace Place is. I've personally donated Grace Place. The city has provided funds for Grace Place. I voted for their zoning change that they need in New Shack Island Road. Obviously, I feel like they're doing something good for the community and really going more than just a little bit by far. Nobody would doubt that Grace Place provides to the greater good of Hendersonville, and removing those trees was necessary to expand their ministry, but it would do even more good for Hendersonville. So the idea of a greater good is what the tree bank is for, and that's what Grace Place does. The tree bank was created to make sure that development replaces at least what it took from the city, and Grace Place provides at least what the city provides and pays it forward, in my estimation, 100-fold, if not more. So taking $58,000 to me would reduce Grace Place's ability to do a greater good. I decided that we needed to act on this. Organizations that provide a greater good, greater than what the city could do with the tree bank funds, should not pay into the tree bank. They provide resources to the community that add to our common good. Requiring them to contribute to the tree bank ignores their missions. Requiring them to contribute to the tree bank is an error that should have been recognized when the tree bank was created. And I hope that the rest of you all agree. Alderman Garza.
Yes, I live off New Shackle Island Road, and I'm glad to hear March is the date because I've been sitting in a lot of traffic. But I'd like to be added as a sponsor to this, please.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Garza as a sponsor. Alderman Robertson, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This Grace Place is in Ward 6, and Alderman Evans and I are proud of that. You know, I believe in the tree bank. I believe in investing in the tree canopy of this city to keep it green and beautiful. But nonprofits invest in more than trees. They invest in the lives of individuals. And when I look out across the audience tonight, we really have the all-stars of nonprofits in this building tonight, Mayor. I can look across and see a bunch of nonprofits that do great jobs in the city. This variance does not only allow for immediate relief for Grace Place, but also for future nonprofit building. So I'm very proud to be a co-sponsor of this. And the only thing I can say, Mom, this is for you. Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for all the work you've done in this community. We're so happy to have you here. Everyone I ever talked to about Grace Place, they who knows you, they have nothing but good things to say, that you take care of people and that you're truly living your mission and doing God's work. And so we just really appreciate that. My question would just be around the retroactiveness of this ordinance. They already paid these fees. So what do we need to do to make sure that we can refund these fees? Because as I understand it, it takes effect when we vote it in. So if you can clarify how we could do that.
Yeah, if this is passed, we can incorporate that into the mid-year budget, which will be coming forward at the end of this month, the Finance Committee, and then once that's approved, we can do a refund out for this.
So do we need to include that in this, or we're committing to do that at the mid-year budget?
It's in there.
It is
Yeah,
in there?
Yeah, it'll be in the mid-year
Okay.
budget.
No, it's in the,
Oh,
it's in the text.
is it in the ordinance?
It's in the text to authorize the repayment of it, but then we'll have to do the appropriation
Yeah.
to be able to move it out of the tree bank to be able to pay
Thank you.
those
That's my
funds out.
question.
Alderman Garten.
I'm happily supporting this ordinance. I hope the whole board supports this ordinance. I definitely think that these funds will be much better utilized through Grace Place than our tree bank. And I'm proud to be a part of a board who does support ministries like this, very much so through this ordinance as well as our nonprofit committee. So each year we love doing that for you guys. That's all.
Alderman Garten, thank you. Alderman Evans, who is also, go ahead, Alderman Evans.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the Section 6 states that this resolution shall be effective upon its adoption and further effective retroactive to January 1st, 2025. So that's where we're taking care of that.
Thank you, Alderman Evans. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-43, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Y'all are welcome to stay.
I'm sure they don't necessarily want to.
Our next item on the agenda is Resolution 2025-44. This is a resolution authorizing a fee waiver for temporary sign permits for signs placed on city property by qualifying nonprofit organizations. Alderman Dixon, do you have a motion?
Yes.
Okay, Alderman, we have a motion from Alderman Dixon. Second. And a second from Alderman Goodwin. Alderman Dixon, do you want to discuss this? Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is a very smaller version of what we just did to help some nonprofits. This is concerning our sign fee that we have when someone wants to hold a nonprofit event and they want to put a sign up at in a public area. They are paying $27 a sign. And most recently, we had Homebound Meals needing 3 signs to go up at one school for a breakfast, and that really cut into cut into their profits that they would make for pancake breakfast. So I asked the city to put this together so that we could waive the fee in the future for nonprofits for signs.
Thank you, Alderman Dixon. Anybody else? Alderman Sassy. Oh, you fooled me. Alderman Bergdorf.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Alderman Dixon, I applaud your motion here, and I want to be added as a co-sponsor.
Without objection, we'll add Alderman Bergdorf as a co-sponsor, Resolution 2025-44.
Thank you. Second question I have regarding that, follow-up, please. Are the qualifying nonprofit standards, who is that just our qualifying nonprofit board addressed those? How is that assessed?
It's not just our,
Okay.
that we don't, it's any, I'm assuming that, and Keith Free may be able to answer this
I
question better
apologize,
than
it's
I.
just the mechanics of the
I'm
ordinance
assuming
here.
that it's anyone that has a 501.
Okay, okay. And it's subject to
yes.
approval. Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Alderman Bergdorf, a full clarification is page 12.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, section 1 and 2. There,
No,
page,
I don't have
yours
a
is
page
15.
12. I don't have a.
Oh, it
page.
is? Okay. Section 1, there are a couple paragraphs there, 1 and 2. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. Thank you, Alderman Dixon. Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, could you remind me, it says on here that these are temporary sign permits. What is temporary? Is that 30 days?
Keith, you want to do it? Oh. Yeah. So we actually have a definition in our ordinance of what that is.
It's not permanent.
Yes, I believe that is 30 days. There's some variety of what all it is, but it's just, it's for a short term.
So they would still need to get a permit for these signs, but then they would just, if they wanted to maintain the sign for another 30 days, they'd probably have to move it, but they could do that, right?
Yeah, if it was at a different location,
Yeah.
there may be limits where you can't just leave it out
I mean,
there.
it's probably all in
because
the
it's still
sign
a
ordinance.
temporary, but they'd still need to get a permit, but it wouldn't cost them.
Yeah.
The $27.
So there's not going to be any limits, is what I guess I'm asking, right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Appreciate that. Alderman Collins.
Alderman Sassy, in my experience with this, on the other end, being the person putting the signs out, is you get a little sticker that you put on the back of the yard sign, and it has the address on it. And I think it has the dates, if I remember correctly. And I don't recall if it's 30 days, but the way that these are used is park over here. You know, this is the entrance, and you're putting that up in a public space, or a few days ahead of time, it might have, nowadays it probably have a QR code for where you could buy tickets. So they're really just used to promote an event, and that would happen 2 weeks at the most. So I think it's pretty short term and specific to an address.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2024-44, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have first reading ordinance 2025-23. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 20, establishing impact fees for the city of Hendersonville. Alderman Martin, Skidmore, Bergdorf, or Sassy, would y'all like to make a motion? We have a motion from Alderman Bergdorf, a second from Alderman Sassy. I want to tell you something a little bit because we sort of left off our last meeting how we were going to handle this. Talked with Vice Mayor Skidmore, talked with Lance a little bit about how to do this. We can't really hold an election of you have to pick one or the other because everybody still reserves the right to vote no on both of these. So we can't do that. We also looked at do we group these or do something. The best thing we came up with is if you want to discuss any of the next three ordinances, I will find it in order because I think it'll be very hard to split hairs on my part, and y'all might disagree on if you're talking about this ordinance or if you're talking about 2025-25. So feel free to talk about, to have discussion about any of this ordinance or the next two. But I will say this, if we reject this one and we reject the next one, I will entertain a motion to reconsider the first one. Nobody has to make that motion, but I will make sure that you have that opportunity, because there might be a second there where we realize, well, what's next? And so at that point, I will entertain a motion. If we reject both of these, I will entertain a motion to reconsider the first one. So, let's see, any of you four want to talk first? There are sponsors?
We have someone explain the difference, because we're considering all three of these together.
Okay.
We have someone explain what the three are.
Sure, trying to think of the best one to do that is. Keith, you want to do that? So, we do have.
Can I?
So, hold on, so we did have I did send out an email, did that go in the packets, or what happened?
No, you sent it to Jason and I.
Okay,
Just, Jason should have it.
okay, Jason, do you have, oh, you do, oh, perfect. You do have I saw it in black, actually white on black a few minutes ago on the screen. Can you bring that up for us? There we go. And if you reach up there and try to enlarge it, it won't work. So there we go. And Keith and his staff helped put this together, so this should give you a little bit of a guide, Keith.
I can just go over the general differences.
Sounds good.
And the first one, I guess the first one, the one that's on the agenda here first, that's the one that has the commercial and the residential. And so, and I'll compare the two. The other one that's next on the agenda, it's just commercial only. Looking at the first one, it's just residential only. It's very confusing, but let me try to keep these separate. So the first one is commercial and residential. The second one is residential only. And the first one, that's commercial and residential, in the study that we have that's been completed by Tisher Bice, that has all of that information in it and calculates everything and, looks at the population projection and all those costs and everything, that sets what the maximum amount that you could charge that would be justifiable. And so the first one, with the commercial side of things and the residential, it's saying that top number that we're going to be charging 50%. So we're not doing 100%. We're going to be capping that at 50% in that calculation. In comparison, the other one that's residential, then that one, we still have that same for the residential, that high number, that's the maximum number. But that one is not doing that high number either. It's not necessarily doing a percentage. It's doing a specific amount. I think that amount, and it may or may have a change. I think, suggested that later. But currently with the way the ordinance is right now, in 2026, it starts out, I believe, at $5,000 for a single family home. And then it increases incrementally until 2030, up to I think 6,500. And it's the multifamily is a little bit different too. It's a little bit less than that. I can't remember what that specific number is. So that's the main differences as far as on the money side of those and what's covered. Almost everything else is very similar with the two. Those are really the main differences. The exemptions and vesting and exemptions, those are all the same things for each ordinance. There's several things that are mentioned, but more specifically, just to mention both of them, if a commercial project or a residential project was part of a approved plan development, then that's exempt, from having to pay the impact fee. And so those are really the main two differences with these. And if the sponsors see anything maybe more to point out, but that's really the main differences. One has commercial and residential. The other one just has commercial. I'm sorry. The other one just has residential. That is hard to get. And they both, don't go all the way up to the top. You know, and then one of the questions may be, well, why did not either one of them go all the way up to that top? You know, part of going all the way up to that top, the closer you do get to that top from the litigious standpoint, then, you know, the questioning of the study and everything and kind of picking all that apart, you know, that becomes certainly more detailed versus if you're backing that off a percentage from going all the way. And I can answer any question about any one of the different ones.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Alderman Martin.
Yeah, I just want to kind of just get into it. Both ordinances, they both have a planned administrator component to it, right? That's correct. They're both the same, yes. Okay, is that a new employee? Is that someone that is going to be already on staff that would just take on that? I think right now, the way it's set up, it's directing that to the finance director. But, you know, it kind of depends on the complexity of what, you know, of what would be involved. Certainly, it might be something looking at staffing, depending on how complex that it turns out to be, or if it's more on a simple type of thing, it might be something that could be absorbed. That certainly is one of those things we're not really going to know necessarily fully to commit to a new staff position to cover this, but it's very possible depending on the demands that the finance director's office already has, you know, on whether they can squeeze that in. Okay. Another question I wanted to talk about, or another difference is, you know, we're impacting these, we're having impact fees to support our infrastructure and parks. Which, I didn't give you all much time on this question, but it's kind of basically like, if we were to institute both of them last year, how much revenue would each one of them have generated? Yes. And I think I gave you, do you have that? That I had sent that to you? Let me see if I printed that off. Yes, this is it. Thank you. I have the Costco thing, but not. Yeah, thank you. And I might mention that study includes fire, police, the roads, and parks. But both of these different options of the ordinance, it's just looking at exacting impact fees to cover costs associated with the roadways and the parks only. So both of those are doing that. And looking at that, Alderman Martin, the first one, and I'm going to get it right this time, the one that is commercial and residential, then the estimated impact fees, because it'd be getting impact fees from commercial and getting impact fees from the residential as well. The estimated commercial impact fees would be $424,000, and the estimated impact from the residential for that version would be about $1.4 million, for a total of over $1.8 million. But it's one thing to really note for this one and the other one is if any of those projects were part of a planned development, then the way the ordinances are currently written, then we wouldn't be getting that much. So when you back out that, then, you know, it probably ends up being closer to 75 to 100,000 would be the total once you take into account the vesting and the exemptions. And the other one that is, and I'm going to get this right this time, residential only, the one that's only residential, there'd be no fee generated for commercial, of course. And then the estimated impact fee for the residential for single family, because we didn't have multifamily last year, we just had single family permits, would be $810,000. But again, you know, most of those residential homes were all located within planned developments. So most of that, we wouldn't actually receive any of that. It'd probably be something more like 40 to 60,000, you know, possibly, you know, with the way we've got our exemptions and our vesting. All righty. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Another clarification, WSMV reported that the mayor's ordinance would require developers to cover that impact fee, but that ours would be picked up by the homeowners at their cost? Was that a misprint? Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. The way these impact fees work, either ordinance, one with the commercial and residential, then the commercial developer will determine, I guess, who that gets pushed to, and what gets pushed out. And then the ones that are residential, which both of these versions have residential, then, it could be anything from the developer absorbing it, but most likely a good portion of that would be pushed on to somebody. Yeah. So the developer pays. Yeah, but there'd be. Regardless of which ordinance that we. Yeah, there'd be no different in regards specifically to the residential side of it, All right. The developer would be responsible, so that's true, for either one. Right. Yeah. All right. Some questions have been raised on whether our pro-resident taxpayer ordinance would have made Costco think twice about having a location here in Hendersonville. This is where the credit system comes in. Can you talk a little bit about that? The credit system, which is the third of this version, we've got. Well, it's in both. It's in both. Yeah. And then I think there's a separate, there's another credit thing that's on the agenda. And then basically what a credit is like, give you a scenario, whether it was residential or commercial, it could be, hey, you owe $600,000 in impact fees for your development. And then it could be, well, you've got all this stuff you've got to do, but if you do this extra stuff, if you would like to, it's their choice, they could pay it, or they could do something to try to tap into a credit. And basically a credit is saying, hey, I'm going to do all of this other stuff near my site that's extra stuff that the city agrees that I can do, and it's going to cost $620,000 or it's going to cost $600,000. And then that way we don't actually even get an impact fee, but maybe we do get the work. We get the done on benefit. that. Yeah, so that's one possibility to do that. And in talking to other communities, I think it was Murfreesboro. They really push that. They push the credit, and that's where they really prefer for the developers to actually do work instead of put it in the bank account for the city, to eventually accumulate enough to do the job. Right. Okay. Thank you. So that's what our ordinance has. And plugging in an example, which would have been Costco, and thank you for sharing the numbers on that. So Costco spent $1,736,000, $403, making road and other off-site improvements, which far exceeded the $750,000 that our ordinance would have charged. That's so correct. Under that theory, or under that example, 100% of the impact fee would have been consumed by the other negotiated improvements that they made. So they wouldn't have paid any impact fee. It's hard to say, and I think maybe one of the speakers before that had shared something. And just to be aware, when you set in residential or commercial, when you set that impact fee, regardless of what it is, that's the expectation. And once you set that, the opportunity to leverage whatever the development is, residentially or commercial, for them to do a whole lot more would be really, really difficult to do. So it's kind of hard to answer that question because our point of leverage, kind of changes. But that's part of what development impact fees are. Once you're charging those, it's that, hey, here's, once you pay this, you're paying the expectation of what your development is costing our community, and that's kind of what happens. So a lot of that really extra stuff would be very difficult to leverage, but not impossible. And it's just going to be, each case is going to be, going to be different. Okay. Ordinance 2025-23, the pro-resident one, charges a fixed and predictable impact fee to both residential and non-residential projects, as you mentioned, whereas the other ordinance excludes non-residential projects and has a changing fee schedule. in other words, our impact fee ordinance would be more common and traditional compared to other cities, whereas the other ordinance would be more exotic and unique. Referencing back to the Middle Tennessee Home Builders Association's letter, where they threatened us with a lawsuit if we did not abandon our impact fee ordinances in lieu of raising everyone's property taxes. It's my opinion that a more traditional impact fee ordinance charging both residential and non-residential projects would be more defensible. Our community on social media clearly supports impact fees for both residential and non-residential. It provides more revenue for our infrastructure and parks, and it's more, I feel, common and defensible, and I hope other aldermen will support it. Thank you.
Alderman Martin, thank you. Alderman Goodwin.
I just want to say I overanalyze everything, and when I got elected on the board, I was 100% for impact fees. Learning more and more about it, I'm still for impact fees. However, I cannot support this ordinance for the simple reasons that doing my research and speaking with planning, we would not have had, if we had the impact fees in place, we would not have had all the improvements that Costco did. We would not have all the improvements that some of the other projects have allowed the city to do. The businesses would pay just the impact fee that they're told to pay. They wouldn't do any extra. Right now, I feel like a lot of the developers and the businesses that are coming here are doing a little more. So I cannot support the commercial impact fee at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Goodwin, thank you. Alderman Garza.
Yeah, thank you. So, people always talk about their backgrounds. I know, Alderman Evans came from the Red Cross, and there's a lot of history there. I'm an ex-retailer. I spent almost 40 years in retail, and so I have real issue with commercial impact fees, and here's why. They already pay a higher tax rate, 40 versus 25. They generate a lot of sales tax. Even the small businesses do. Just as importantly, they bring jobs to Hendersonville, and that we need. But here's my other issue that I find I thought a lot about this. So if we were able to pass this resolution and have commercial impact fees, and whether Costco would have moved, 1 mile to Goodlettsville or 1 mile to Gallatin, we'll never know because they ended up here. However, there's a lot of destination retail, not just retail, but commercial, that could literally go 1 mile or half a mile north of the city or west of the city or even east of the city and open up. And if they're a destination store like Costco, if Costco was in Gallatin, everyone in this room would still go to Gallatin to Costco. And they would go to, and we know that they're redeveloping Rivergate now. They'd go right across to Madison or Goodlettsville, everyone look at the address there, and open up there, and we'd still all go shop there because they're destination stores. So I cannot support commercial impact fees whatsoever. I think as we continue to grow and add different businesses to our city, it's going to be important that we continue the growth of that. So I'm not talking about impact fees in general, just commercial impact fees. So I just want everybody to know I've been doing this for a long time, and retailers all can talk tough, but if they're going to save $1 million or $500,000, and I agree with what Alderman Goodwin said, they'll make the move because they spent a whole career building their business. It's not a guesswork. I mean, I always make jokes about Trader Joe's, right? I'd love to have Trader Joe's in Hendersonville, but if there's a big impact fee, they'll just go to Gallatin. It's not like they went 20 miles away. It's literally right across our border. So I cannot support commercial impact fees.
Alderman Garza, thank you. Alderman Ward.
First, I'd like to agree with Alderman Goodwin and Alderman Garza about I don't support the commercial impact fees. I can live with the residential impact fees. I do have a question, I guess, for Keith. With the impact fees overall, it says in here that we have to do another study within 5 years to, I guess, justify our fees are still in the range they need to be?
Yes, and that'd be typical, yes.
So what's the cost of that study? Because we talked about it being expensive.
Good question.
Yeah, doing the study, we actually came out pretty good on the study that we got. but it can range anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000. I believe we were in kind of putting both of those studies together because we had a parks one just for parks, and then we got the other ones. Got an update of a version of a study we had several years ago, so we got a pretty decent price on it. So I think we only had 40 or 45 or 50,000, less than 60 in the studies that we have. So I would say it would range somewhere between 50 and 80. Probably that would be a reasonable range.
So we would have to do that every 5 years, and with the city of Hendersonville being the size that it is and only X number of residential lots left, at what point do we reach an end to there's no more place to build houses anymore, so there's no more impact fees?
Correct.
How long, I mean, is that going to be a 15, 20-year build out, or?
Depending on the pace, it could be 9 to 13 years, depending on the pace.
And then at that point, you would have to tear down houses to build new ones.
Possible redevelopment could occur. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Ward, thank you. Alderman Evans.
Thank you. First of all, good to be with you all again. Happy New Year. I've got a lot going on in my brain, just a lot of different things in my mind, but, I think I'll come back to some of the comments that have been made, but I want to start out by commenting about affordability. And when I'm a property owner, homeowner here in Hendersonville, and I love the fact that my property value keeps going up because it's just more for me. But again, I've said this before, I keep thinking about the next generation, those people who we want, the younger population that we want to move into our city. The Hendersonville homes, Sumner County homes are very high compared to other homes in Middle Tennessee. And I know we've compared ourselves to Franklin and Brentwood and Murfreesboro like that, but we're not that. We're different. And there's a lot of things that make it good and unique about being in Hendersonville. It's new home prices are expensive, and my view on this is I'm going to be different from anybody else here. Is I'm going to probably vote no on on both of these. But if I'm pressed and have to pick one or the other, then I'll definitely will go with the one that's the lesser for the residential. I agree with the comments that have been made about commercial. Director Free, I want to call you back up because I want to just get a clarification on some of the things that you had said, and probably just to, I understood what you said, but I just kind of want us to pause and think about that. But it has to do with the Costco and what was brought up in the fact that they paid roughly $1.7 million in improvements that we needed for that, and we're happy to have that and happy to have their business here. But if we had had those impact fees, and I know there could be some differences in that, but if we had had the impact fees at that time, we would have been a $1 million in deficit of the difference between what they did do and the road constructions that we needed, the sidewalks and everything, versus if we had had these impact fees for commercial in place, then the city would have had to foot the bill for that $1 million. Is that fair to say, or is that kind of in the ballpark?
Well, I think with Costco, I think it's difficult. It's certainly something that we do have numbers on, and so I think it's worth exploring and looking at that data. But it really is difficult to project today forward.
Sure.
Costco, a lot of things change with Costco about where they're locating, how they're locating, and not what communities are exacting from them, but what they're exacting from communities.
Sure.
Prior to going. So a lot of things have changed here over the last couple of years. So it's just really impossible. It's good to look at the data, and it does give you an understanding, but it would be difficult to say, if we did have commercial impact fees, that there's absolutely no way that Costco could come. There may be a possibility, but it certainly would be would be extremely challenging.
Well, I'm not saying that, whether they would come or
Yeah.
not come. I'm just saying that there's validity in what I'm trying to say, and the comparison I'm trying to
Right.
make there is that if we had had the impact fees in place and they still came,
Yeah.
they would have only done to that extent.
Yeah.
They would have only done road improvements or whatever we
Right.
needed to that 700 or 800,000. And I don't want to get nitpicky with the numbers and everything, but I think that that's kind of what I'm getting at. It was made, I can't remember who said it, but when we set these numbers, these impact fees, that's the limit that we can do. And I think that we as a city, our planning department, BOMA, planning committee, has done a very, very good job of negotiating with these type, what I call voluntary impact fees. And Director Free, I want to go back to the numbers that you were sharing. You don't have to spout them off again. But when you were doing the comparison about, they were asking about impact fees from last year, and you were kind of whittling it down. I'll let y'all finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to make it say, I wanted you to hear what I was saying, but when you were whittling it down, if we had impact fees for those from last year, it virtually was going to be, well, I'm not going to say insignificant, but you said like $80,000 or something like that because those homes were already in planned
Correct.
development, or they were already in queue or whatever you want to
Correct.
call it. But the other part of that is that a lot of those homes, probably in Durham Farms, are paying voluntary impact fees, meaning that they're paying those, that the developer is paying those per home for those homes. So I think there's
They are.
already some voluntary impact fees that the developers are paying that, you have to include that in the math too. You can't just say
Right.
that, okay, we would have gotten this much dollars if we had this impact fee. Excuse me. So
And there is a bit of blur that happens in the sense of you have a large development. There's things that we're going to require on transportation improvements, but if it's something it's an ask and it's a planned development, then we have things that we're having them do, but then there is a blurry area there of extra things they're throwing in there in order to get the approval.
True.
So it's kind of a little bit of a moving target.
Got it.
Because some of the things are things they've got to do, but they're doing more, and then doing more on top of that. So it's
kind of sweetening the pot,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yes.
One thing I also just fielding a lot of comments from constituents over the past few weeks since we've been talking about this. And the way I understand impact fees is that when they pay those, it has to be for incremental type improvements. It can't be for those things that we already have slated or things that we already are noted that these things need to happen. It has to be for incremental growth or incremental costs, correct?
It is. It has to be for capital projects of parks capital projects.
Right.
In the case of both of these, would be parks capital projects or transportation improvements. That's not necessarily maintenance.
Right.
It's things that are expanding the ability of the roadway or expanding the ability of the park system.
But is it true, we have, it was mentioned that we have roughly 36 projects on our transportation plan.
Correct.
And is it true that these 36 projects, that any kind of impact fee that they would pay, they wouldn't fund any of these 36 projects? True or not true?
Now, some of them are a little smaller on that 36, but certainly not one of the larger ones, or probably middle-sized one, because impact fee, with either version, the impact fees, wouldn't be more than $1.5 million for a project,
Hey, Keith,
even a large
I
project.
think Lance can help with that one.
Yeah.
Yes. I said I think.
No. What I think, I'll let you speak, Lance, but I think there's some misunderstanding what I was asking there.
Just because it's already planned, as long as it increases capacity for a road or a park, and it is proportionally done so because of a particular development, it would still be able to fund that project.
Okay, just as an example, so we already have, Drake's Creek is a big part of, there's like, I think, 2 or 3 projects on that 36 transportation projects. If a new subdivision was gonna come in and that they would be using Drake's Creek, and if they had these impact fees, those impact fees could be used to fund for those projects on Drake's Creek,
Yeah, I believe so.
as it is today.
I believe so.
Okay.
In the general sense, and I mean, if it's a 5-unit development, I mean, I don't know that that's gonna create the impact.
Right.
But, as long as it's proportional.
Okay. And then, is there any danger that, if we approve impact fees, that that a project, because of something that's not on our transportation plan, if there's a development going in and it would require work that we approved for this impact fee, would that have to be included in the transportation plan? And is there a danger that that particular project would move up on this list, therefore taking priority over some of the other things we have in the transportation plan? That's my concern.
Is that, do you want him to answer that, or is that, I don't want to get in a debate between you and Lance.
No, I mean, I think it would be a very much on a case-by-case basis in that scenario, but the bottom line is just that whether or not that particular development is causing the impact to that particular project.
Thank you. My concern is just that we already have an agenda, we already have priorities there, and I just think we get in the danger of, if we do these impact fees and they're paying for something else, that it might go higher up on the list because of having the impact fees and we have to use them.
Well, and maybe to that point, if the next item on the list in the transportation plan is over, on the north side of Hendersonville, and the developments are occurring on the south side of Hendersonville, those impact fees might not be able to use on the north side. It just depends. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been on this board 5 years. It's a long time. And this is a long time coming. And I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate both of these ordinances. And before I get out of this chair tonight, I'm going to vote for impact fees. I don't know which one, but what I'd like to know from the sponsors of 23, what is motivating you? What is the overriding motivation for the commercial impact fees? Because it could be, hey, we want to slow down growth of commercial. And I got to tell you, that's attractive to a lot of people in this town. It really is. Or it could be more revenue. What can someone from the sponsors tell us? What's your overriding motivation?
So Alderman Bergdorf has his light already pressed. So we'll go to him, and then you'll have no obligation to answer the four of you have no obligation to answer that. And then I'll come back to you, Alderman Dixon, if you have anything else.
Okay.
So Alderman Bergdorf, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Good to see everybody after, I hope we all had a peaceful and restful holiday. Did we? You can nod yes. This is no. Okay, great. Secondly, welcome back, everybody out there. We're glad to see you all shiny faces. And Mayor, thank you for bringing us back at this most contentious ordinances. It's good to get the juices going. Couple things. Very, very good discussion. I think we've got a very good discussion up here. We've got very good questions, and we're digging deep into this situation because we do recognize, I've lived in the city a long, long time. And we all recognize that we believe that we missed the opportunity a few years ago to get the impact fees and capitalize on the impact fees throughout the city to help those of us and long time in my ward, Ward 1, primarily been here a long time. It's one of the earliest developed neighborhoods in Hendersonville. And it was one of the first as soon as the lake was built, and so they started building houses around it. Those folks in my ward built the neighborhoods. They've paid the taxes, they paid the stormwater fee, and they've got they're long-lived stakeholders in that neighborhood. They've been here, they've seen it grow, and they've had to suffer under the growth as soon as you go down Saunders Ferry Road on a daily basis to meet the newly timed traffic signals. What do we call those? Synchronized traffic signals? Yeah, okay, great. So some of us get to experience those, some of us not so much. But what we have here at this point in time is we're at a juncture. We have a good point to go ahead and make some corrective action here. And I think employing Ordinance 2025-23, which allows the city to seek impact fees as a one-time charge. It's a one-time charge for any new developer in the area on residential and commercial. My constituents, people on Ward 1, want there to be a level playing field. I think we all desire to have a level playing field. When we get in line at the bank, when we get laying down the road, we have a desire. It's the human desire to see a level playing field that everybody gets a chance. Everybody's treated the same. And I feel like this is, they expressed to me that this, if we employ impact fees, not necessarily equally, but similarly, then they feel like they're being heard, number one. Number two is a way for the developers to help, another way for the developers to help contribute to the road repairs, to the infrastructure, to the stormwaters. There's a whole list of uses here for impact fees. I can't find, here it is, right here. Qualifying project costs include project engineering cost, acquisition cost of rights, a way of easement. Am I on the right track? These are things that can be used, impact fees can be used for. Correct? Okay, we're going to say lots and lots of things. And it's going to be on page 31 of your packet here. So these, and if I can digress just a little bit, Tamara, we're on finance. Jeff Sassy, you and I, we're all on finance, and Mark Evans is on finance. Last year, what was our sales tax revenue? Do you recall that? Did it go up or down, or was it flat?
It went up a little bit.
It went up a little bit, okay? And we did that without impact fees, right?
Yes.
Okay, so sales tax continues to go up, all right? The other point I want to make here is impact fees can be applied at this board, and they can be removed and changed at another board. It's not permanent. No matter how important we may think we are, it is not permanent. And we can take corrective action next year, next 2 years, if we find that this ordinance 2025-23 is not working for us. It's not on your permanent record. Okay? So those are the two things, 3, maybe 4, I don't know how many, I lost count, what I wanted to say about this, but I'm going to throw my support behind this ordinance 2025-23 because I think it's an important step in the right direction. Now, back again, I like the other ordinance as well, but there's things that we can do. We can marry these two ordinances together. We don't have, I don't know, Mayor, maybe I'm speaking out of turn or legislatively or mechanically, but we can marry these two together. We can get the best parts of both ones and put them together. We have a lot of options up here, but we need to move forward on the impact fee discussion. I yield. Thank you.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. And Alderman Dixon, I appreciate the question, and I want to make sure that I'm going to try and answer your questions accurate or as completely as I possibly can. So when we received the study on these impact fees, which was a while ago, we've been sitting on these studies and considering impact fees for months, and I'm glad we're finally considering them. They recommended residential, single-family residential impact fees for streets and parks of $18,000. Multifamily, they recommended $13,000 approximately. These are all approximate numbers from rounding. And then commercial is actually broken up into four pieces. You have commercial, which is primarily retail, if I'm understanding correctly, was $9,500. Office space, $6,400. Industrial is $2,800, and an institutional was about $8,700. So we wanted to create a level playing field. We wanted to create fairness across both residential and the commercial industrial development, the office space, the institutional, and all those pieces. So we cut it by 50%. We wanted to apply them to all of them, but we cut it by 50% so we could actually partner with these developers. They're doing something good for our city by building new homes and building new office space, things we need in our city, which our citizens can use and go shopping, go to church. But we wanted to partner with them because they are making our community better. So that's why we cut it by 50%. I'm not married to that number, by the way. If we want to drop it even a little bit further to get this across the finish line, I'm okay with that, and I'm willing to consider that. Now, the reason why it's important we execute these on commercial as well, keep in mind, not each one of those is going to produce sales tax either, right? Office space, maybe, rare. Institutional, definitely not. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, please. And industrial does not either, because they're manufacturing things, right? They're not producing sales tax at all. Also, sales tax is paid by us. It's paid by you. It's paid by each one of us. We pay the sales tax. The company does not. They're the developer who built the building, who probably isn't even from this area and isn't sticking around, definitely isn't sticking around. Unless they're a local company, which we appreciate. I know we shop local as much as we can, but even the locals probably didn't build that building. They hired someone else to build that. So these developers are paying these impact fees to cover the impact of what their development created on our community. And I just think of one example. Over a year ago, this area right out here by the Bradford Berry House, which we're working on restoring, and across the street from it was empty. There was, I think, one home up on the hill, and the Bradford Berry area was just covered in woods, and we had a storm, and all the trees were falling down. I remember when Alderman Bergdorf and I were over there with our chainsaws. We were cutting up trees, trying to clean it up. That was a good time, wasn't it? We had fun.
A great time, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. And now we have a Chick-fil-A going in there. We have Jim and Nick's, Starbucks. There's a oil change place, a healthcare clinic, all those in that area, and we had talked about a street light. That was critical for that area. I think if we had had these development impact fees on commercial, we would have probably brought in enough to almost pay for that entire street light. I don't know for sure, but it would have contributed quite a bit towards that street light. And that's just one example I'm thinking of where those impact fees would have been very important for this city to have. So I hope that answered your question on why I think it's really important to have impact fees on those items.
Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I was sitting here listening to the arguments tonight, and I do appreciate everybody's side of this. It hasn't changed, actually, to believe it, Board, since 1986. The arguments are the same, and I can attest to you that, and I'm real serious about this, and this, I guess this is why I'm not on a soapbox or getting passionate about something, because it is so serious about the future of where our city is going. I mean, we have a bright future, and we need to continue forward on what we're doing. But I've heard so many things since this first came up, in the grocery stores, at the gas stations that I've had visited, because I needed gas in my car. In fact, today that happened to me, and gas was $2.05 at Walmart, and I was really glad of that. Oh my goodness! I know, so I filled my tank up. And no, it's all right. I get mine. But anyway, but I was, and I got spoken to, somebody said, "Are you Mark Skidmore?" And I said, "Yeah." And they started saying something about my beard, and I said, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but the doctors won't let me shave, and I just let it go out." But anyway, my point is this. So I began to think about this whole thing about impact fees, not today, but when we knew that we were going to hear this eventually coming this year. Because since '86, we've literally, this board, and I'm talking about the board collectively, has heard these same arguments since then, and that is since the new government came into effect. And I've heard so many rumors and things that weren't true, that, some of the things where we're like, "Why didn't you do this 10 years ago?" And I'm going like, "We did, actually." And I said, "How long have you been here?" "Well, I moved from California about 4 years ago." And I said, "Well, that explains that, That's why you weren't here 10 years ago." And that we, no disrespect to them, but I wanted to let them understand that Hendersonville has struggled with impact fees for a long time. And I will have to defend all the previous boards since '86 that I've been on, every person, because the things that some of the things that you have said this evening are the very, and I've told you this before, but it's important to understand the very things that we said back in '86. How it, the developments on the housing, on the issues of growth in Hendersonville, and how it affects our small, this is the things that you need to understand tonight on impact fees. And one is how that it affects the small developers in town, and what they have to do to their developments, and how it's not approached. And I'm not talking about the big boys from Texas that came in here back in the '80s and '90s. I was here. And it was not, I'll be honest with you, I was not appreciative of them for what they did. They, the big developers that were out of state that came into our town, what they said was they were going to build a certain amount of things, and then what they did was they built apartments, and then they left town. And then some of them went belly up. I mean, it happened, and I can cite, if you want evidence, I can cite those the complexes in town that were built that when I was here, and it just infuriated me. You know, another thing is that with these impact fees, one thing that some of the board was back then, and still now, they were fearful of the fees, or excuse me, the building costs that would affect the homes. And they would pass it on to the residents. And therefore, if they did that, our residents who come to Hendersonville would have to pay more for a house because they're covering their fees for building the home. And that's a concern to me because I'm more interested in what the constituency say than I am, and I mean no disrespect for that, but I'm more concerned about people that come to our home or here in Hendersonville to make their home, not a builder. I will say this, that I'm more lenient on most of the time. There's probably about one or two in town that I don't. But for the smaller developers that live in our community here in town, because we got to meet them at Kroger's, you know, and they live in our community, and we're going to get them if I see them out, and I've done it. I said, I got a question for you. Why did you say you were going to do something and you still hadn't done it? Well, they give me the song and dance, but I always remember what they did or what they didn't. And some developers say, hey, we're going to do it, just give us a chance, you know. And I say, okay, you know, and they wind up doing it. So, you know, this argument tonight that has been made about discouraging that the impact fees discourage development and economic growth in our community. And it has been said tonight, which I agree with. I'm very proud of how this board has handled the finances of this city of Hendersonville. I mean, each and every one of you. I look back how we used to do it. There were things that we did back in the day that I look back now and go, what in the world were we doing? And I'm sitting here like this when I look back. You know, and it sounded like it was a good thing, but it wasn't, and we learned from that. So I'm very proud of how our finances are within the city because we're going forward in the right direction. And I think that is, and this is all with, you know, the discussion of impact fees, and I'm getting towards about the study here in just a second. I sat here tonight, and I before tonight, I came in. I sat at my kit like everybody does in town. At least I know we do this in Ward 1. I don't know how people out in the other in the other wards do, but you know, when I'm sitting home or I'm sitting at my house, I always go to my kitchen table. Me and my dog, she lays right beside me, and I figure my bill's there. I think of everything on the kitchen table. That's where in fact, when I had a company, that's where I did at the law library and then also at my kitchen table, and it worked out. So that's why I always go there. And I think everybody else does about working their bills out and where the money's going to come from. But I think that was a lot of the problems back in is because the aldermen, when this city was in '86, when this city was growing, and it was all new under the new form of government, we were all nervous. Everybody did. Where are we going to get the money? How's it really going to come and affect everybody? So I don't hold a grudge to any of the aldermen. In fact, I respect them more today than I even did back then. I respected them a great deal back then. But I really have, and I look back now and I respect that. But we did everything are those members of the aldermen, including the mayors back then too. All the mayors since '86, well, maybe one, should have done things that we did. But I'm being very honest this evening because this is so important. And one of the mistakes that we made was the inconsistency of how we treated everybody on that issue. Was the inconsistency, both the building community and also the people of Hendersonville. And it wasn't any fault, a deliberate fault, as we didn't know how to handle what we were getting. Because back then, everybody was coming to Hendersonville. That's where we experienced the growth that we had. And we, as aldermen, we didn't really understand what we were doing in that type of area. Thank God we had people that worked in Hendersonville that anticipated what they did, and so it worked out to the most of the degree of the elected officials. But one of the things that even to this day, and I'll close with this, Mayor, because I could go on, but I'm not going to, because I think you all get the idea of it, is we've got to figure out, and this is something that bothers me about it, is we keep calling this thing, regardless of whether you're for an impact fee or not, that's just what we call it, is a fee. And the question should be, is it a tax? And no one has said anything about that tonight. They've all called it fee. And I can assure, I know you guys on this board know how I feel about taxes. I'm a diehard conservative about taxes. I don't believe in them. I don't think they are necessary. People say, oh yeah, they're necessary. No, they're not. That's how I feel. Because if we can live like we do with what we get in our pocket, in our back pocket, each payday, then that's the way we should live it. We shouldn't tax somebody to death because of what the little goodies that we get. So everybody pays their taxes. They pay their property taxes, sales tax, and all those things. And I'm very ardent about that I am not pro-tax. But no one has answered that question tonight. Is the fee a tax? Well, if you vote for the impact fee tonight, is that a tax on the developer? Or if we defeat the impact of that issue of impact fee tonight, is that going to be a tax that the developer kind of puts on the people that buy our homes in town? I mean, just tell me what it is, and I don't know that you know tonight what you would consider it. But I think that, it's about time somebody says. And I've heard, trust me when I tell you, since '86 to 2026 now, there's been 13 opinions up here. And I don't mean any disrespect, but that's why the progress on impact fees has slowed down. Because we can't get a consensus on what they are. It's like, there's 2 or 3 things that's going on to our city. Do we still remain in one that I can't answer you this? I really can't right now. I've got my own ideas and my thoughts. Are we still a bedroom community to Nashville? Or are we a city that has grown so much now that we are our own city because of growth? And who's responsible for that growth? Is it the people that have lived here, or is it the residential homes that have been built, or the commercial development that has been built? Your answer is as good as mine, because it's too early to tell. And I'll close with this. This is the one I'm going to close with. As far as that study that we've talked about this evening, I think that's an archaic study. I think we do anything, we need to have a study that puts us where we need to be, because the study this town, and you all know this, but this town, well, everybody knows this. This town has changed in 5 years. And if you don't believe that it has, just ask the people like myself who are in 5 o'clock traffic every day in the city of Hendersonville. And we're trying to correct that now. 3 o'clock traffic, seriously. And that's no joke, especially when school's in session. We don't, this whole board doesn't take that thing lightly. And talk about the Walton Ferry, Old Shackle Island Road building that's going on now, trying to correct that has been for years, which I've advocated for years that we needed to fix, and we're finally fixing it. Thanks to this board and previous boards. I don't want to leave them out, because they were concerned about it back in the day too. So those are the things I think we really need to look at, not just whether it's, what it's impacting now. We want to see how we got here, and I know I'll probably get criticized on social media, but that's okay, because they have every right. I may not agree with what people say, but I'll always defend your right to say it, because that's what this country's all about, and this is what this city's all about, because everybody's got an opinion about it. But I just want to let the board know that, the bottom line is we were concerned back then as we are concerned this evening. And the thought process that everybody's going through, we had the same thing happen to us. I would like to say I would like to hear about the other ordinances to talk about, to see what their defense is on the issue, because I know everybody's hit the first one very hard, as they should. But I do want to hear what everybody else has to say about the other ordinances as well. But those are the questions, I think. The bedroom community issue, whether we're on our own city now. I think that's interesting, because a lot of people still take the I-65 corridor to Nashville, and they come home, and then they go rest, and they do the same thing. So, thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor, for bringing me back full circle here. And I appreciate each of the sponsors' comments. I really do. And I guess I'm assuming Martin is no longer, no, I'm sorry. That's right. No, you're still sponsoring it. Oh, yeah, sure. I would love to hear it.
Go ahead, Alderman Martin.
So I like, my name's on this one because of the retail component, because the fees are 50% of what could be charged, and we're not charging any parks. And I agree with that, because retail generates a lot of car traffic, especially food service. So I support the way the fees go to infrastructure and not parks.
Okay.
Thank you, Alderman Martin.
Thank you. Good. Thank you so much. And I will answer Alderman Skidmore's question about whether it's a fee or a tax from my opinion. And I say potato. Potato. And, I think after hearing everything, I'm going to lean toward not voting for an impact fee for commercial, because of the flexibility it lends us and what we've been able to do with the great planning board and planning department that we do have. So that's where I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Robertson, about an hour ago, you pressed your button. It's your turn.
Well, it's probably good to freeze me out, so. Okay, is it time for us to shoot all our bullets?
I think that's the perfect time right now.
Okay, so Keith, and also Lance, The question of whether it's a tax or a fee was answered by the Tennessee General Assembly, and it's in TCA Section 6-2-201, subparentheses 15. It is definitely a fee. It is not a tax. A tax, Lance, according to my understanding, gives us more flexibility on how to spend a tax for general liabilities and debt of the municipality. The impact fee is targeted toward only incremental or improvements in infrastructure that the development causes. Am I correct in that?
Yes, this is, rhetorically, I think Alderman Skidmore was calling it a tax, but legally, this is not a tax. We do not have the authority to impose taxes.
Yeah.
Such as that. It would be a fee from the legal perspective.
So, Keith,
Yes, sir.
if you turn to page 30 in the 23 ordinance, number 6.
Hold 1 second.
Page 30, it's at the top of the page, number 6. It's talking about no waivers, payments of fees by the city. Said the board of mayor and aldermen may agree to pay some or all of the impact fees imposed on a proposed development or redevelopment from other funds of the city that are not restricted to other uses. So, we can't waive impact fees that businesses included in this ordinance would have to pay. If anything, we would have to pay them for them if we wanted to excuse them. Is that correct?
Yes, somebody would have to pay.
Somebody would have to pay.
And that, if I may, I might be able to speak to that. I believe that was language used in a previous ordinance, but that subsection can be changed if the board wanted to allow some leeway to waive for nonprofits or churches.
Well, that's my next question. Under this ordinance, would a church and a nonprofit that's building a building be required to pay would be required to pay impact fees?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And I can, if one of these should pass, I can provide some language if somebody directed me to do so to allow for some exceptions.
So
I didn't want you to think that state law prohibited it.
So what would be the rational basis, Keith, for making that exemption if we charge everybody else and just single out churches and nonprofits?
I'll let Lance answer that question. That's a little bit more legal.
If the board found that the public benefit that they offered outweighed the fee.
Okay. But under ordinance 25, they would not pay because it's only residential, correct?
That's correct.
By the language
Absolutely.
itself.
Yes.
Would be exempt, churches and nonprofits. Yes. Okay, and just briefly on the, there was a little discussion on voluntary impact fees. And we have voluntary impact fees from a number of developments in this city. But what has always been the quid pro quo in voluntary impact fees, Keith, in your experience here? Is it higher density? The request for higher density?
It could be, and we prefer to call that in the past off-site developer agreement. It's kind of what we prefer. It's a word thing, but yeah, I mean, to get a higher density or to get a use sometimes, to get a use that isn't necessarily an allowed use in that particular planned development. So that's something. So it's not just residential. It could be something commercial or even industrial, where they're just trying to get some added usage within there.
And as Mark Anthony said, I'm not here to bury Caesar, or I'm not here to bury the other ordinance. I just want to understand all of the ramifications so that we make the right decision. Tamara, if you would pass out, I requested staff to do an analysis, a case study of the Costco situation. And I'd like, Keith, for you to just briefly go over that. One of the numbers has already been mentioned by Alderman Martin, but I think it's important as a case study. This is one situation, but it's an important case study, I think, to the financial well-being of the city. So what's the $1.7 million for, Keith?
That would be kind of a little bit of what we were talking about earlier with Alderman Evans. This would be the off-site improvements that were being made, and it kind of blends over a little bit into some of the things they kind of needed to do, and then did more of that, and then expanded it. Like, for example, I mean, one of the things everybody's probably familiar with is the walkway and the retaining wall that they built underneath 386 was off their site, so that's a good example. And then you can see all the different things that they did that were extra things that they did at that intersection. So that's roughly about 1.7 million.
So these are off-site improvements that we would have asked them to make, whether there's an impact fee or not?
Not all of that, yeah.
Not all of
Not
that.
all of it, yeah.
You know how much of that we would ask them to make as an off-site improvement?
Probably at least a little bit more than $1 million would have been some, no, I'm sorry, $1 million would have been the extra, so probably about 750,000 of that probably would have been things. But it's that blurry area where it's what we're expecting them to do, but it's not necessarily specifically triggered with some of the transportation things.
But even with the impact fees, we're still going to require businesses to do some off-site improvements. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Over and above what they pay
whatever
for
their
impact
traffic
fees.
Yeah, whatever their traffic study says has to be done.
Has to be done.
They have to do that.
To handle the extra traffic.
And that doesn't go toward credits or impact fees or anything. They've just got to absorb that cost.
On-site improvements, yes.
Right.
And then, of course, we look down at number 2, and this is scripted highly. I just let everybody know. And the reason it's scripted, folks, let me tell you why. We stand a very likely chance to be sued on this. And we have to establish a strong record, whatever we do on this, so that our attorneys can defend us. So I'm kind of laying some groundwork for conclusions and findings of why we can do an impact fee. So go ahead, the sales tax revenue.
Yeah, looking at number 2 there, it's a total estimated annual city taxes that are generated, and this is pretty close to probably about what we're getting, more or less. It's a little over $2 million, and that breaks down to the real estate property tax that they're paying every year is about 52. There's something called city personal property tax that's on top of that. That's about 14,000. And then generally the estimated city sales tax we're receiving annually from Costco is $2 million. Is roughly what we receive.
Estimated 214 employees.
That's
jobs
correct.
That Costco has provided.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to make some comments, and again, these comments, I support the Collins-Clary ordinance for these reasons, for the following reasons. Tonight, we hopefully chart a new course for paying for infrastructure through impact fees needed to accommodate growth. The discussion started in 2019, and after a number of professional studies, workshops, review of other existing municipal impact fees, discussions with interest groups, and various scenarios, I think we are ready to act tonight. With the amount of time and discussion devoted by BOMA on this subject over the many years, no one can claim that we are acting hastily. In fact, the due process of all parties, I believe, have been afforded liberally. We have not acted arbitrary or capricious, but with a full and complete record supported by the analysis of experts within the four corners of state law and relevant court rulings, and by the facts on the ground before us. I support Ordinance 2025-25, is it 25? 24, 20, no, it's not 23. Good try. Sound like an auctioneer up here. Because it meets the goals and objectives that I believe are important for the city to succeed in the future. It also establishes the four principles that I think necessary to achieve fairness. Number one, it places the cost for infrastructure on the cost causer. The General Assembly recognized this principle when it passed TCA Section 6-2-201, parentheses 15, granting cities like Hendersonville the right to impose impact fees on new developments for a specific impact on infrastructure that it causes. It should not be the responsibility of the senior citizen who has resided in our city for 60 years to see their property tax increase to pay for the required infrastructure improvements caused by new developments. Property taxes should not be the vehicle used to cover infrastructure costs caused by new development. Second principle, don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Where would our city be without a robust business community? In fact, it is only through an ever-growing stream of sales tax revenue that we have been able to not increase property taxes. For example, since 2019 to 2025, according to Mr. Lucky's document, our sales tax collections have increased 93%, while property tax has been flat. In addition, commercial property pays a higher property tax than residential, as has been pointed out. Every dollar we collect in sales tax is a dollar we do not have to collect from property taxes. Think of Costco and the revenue it generates. Where would we be without it? Now, I'm not clairvoyant. I'm not a prophet. I don't know if Costco would not have come to Hendersonville if we had an impact fee. I do know that most cities that are getting Costco's now are having to contribute to pay them to come to their city. We didn't have to do that. So where would we be without Costco? Would an impact fee of $750,000 have prevented Costco from coming to our city? I'm glad that we did not have to entertain that question. I don't want to kill potential sales tax revenues by an impact fee policy that could drive away future commercial development, and that's my opinion. The third is home affordability. A lot's been mentioned about home affordability. One reason why, since I've been on the board, I have kept asking questions and exploring different scenarios about impact fees since 2019 is because I wanted to find the Goldilocks formula for impact fees. Not too high and not too low, but just right. I want the fees to be reasonable and not drastically impact home prices. I believe we have found the right number of $5,000 per home. According to documents filed, average home prices in Hendersonville are $594,000. A $5,000 impact fee on new homes would be less than 1% of that total. Further, in a study conducted by Tasser in 2022 found that impact fees are only one factor in home affordability and not necessarily a rather large one. Rather, I postulate that increasing property taxes affects home affordability much more than impact fees. Impact fees affect a smaller universe of homeowners. Impact fees only affect new homeowners, while property tax increases affect all citizens, including those who are struggling to make ends meet. Before I came to this meeting, I received a call from someone that lives in Creekwood that she was calling for a citizen that lives in Ward 6, another citizen that is severely handicapped, living alone, and has some trees about to fall on his property and wanted to know if the city could cut down those trees. I told her no, that we couldn't, but sent her to the Samaritan Center. That homeowner can't afford to cut trees. They for sure can't afford property taxes to pay for the infrastructure requirements for new growth. Number 4, one size does not fit all. The General Assembly recognized that every city is different, with unique circumstances that local leaders must consider when implementing impact fees. Excluding commercial property from impact fees makes sense to me because of the extensive on-site and off-site improvements we require them to make. Keith has just mentioned some of those for Costco, for example. Another is the Maple Road development, where we required the property owners to purchase the red light, to put in a red light for those properties. Considering these facts, the nexus or reasonable relationship between residential growth and infrastructure expansion caused by that growth is greatest, in my view, for residential development. At the same time, non-residential development already mitigates traffic impacts at the time of construction through required turn lanes, road widening, signals, and other improvements identified in traffic studies, as Keith mentioned. Non-residential developments also contribute substantially over time through other mechanisms, such as higher property taxes, sales tax generating sales tax, and other ongoing fees and revenues. For example, non-residential development pays proportionally more stormwater fees. In Hendersonville, non-residential development generally results in a net positive fiscal contribution, while residential development can generate more demand for public services than the revenue it generates. I see this every day as I drive on Drakes Creek Road. My decision on this subject is informed by my living in this city and hopes for it in the future. To require impact fees on top of the extensive on-site and off-site improvements for commercial developments would not be proportional and is, in my opinion, almost like double taxation and would be risky for the city. The fee structure is reasonable, fair, and limited to eligible road and park projects, and will be reviewed continuously to ensure it remains proportional and equitable. In closing, we are plowing new ground with this ordinance, and the result of this planning will help us offset the cost of required infrastructure expansion caused by residential growth while continuing to reap the harvest of a healthy and prosperous business environment generating sales tax, all the while fertilizing home affordability by helping us keep property taxes in check. It is good public policy. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Dixon, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, a very important motion. May we take a 10-minute break?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Garten. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. We're going to have to call the roll.
Bergdorf,
You said no.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. Okay.
yeah. Collins,
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Garten,
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Martin. Roberson.
Who?
Roberson?
Yes. Robertson.
Robertson, sorry. Sassy,
No.
Skidmore,
I can count votes, but yes, that's.
Ward,
No.
Clary.
Yes. So that passes 11 to 2. So we'll take a break. Alderman Collins.
You ready for me to start speaking? Okay. I just want to point out a couple of things. One is that if a traffic study, as Alderman Roberson pointed out, if a traffic study dictates that the developer needs to put in a turning lane or widen a street or add a traffic light, that is separate from the credits and separate from the fee that they pay. So that does make looking at the Costco thing a little bit more complicated because we didn't have that distinction at the time. Ward 5 and Ward 6 are likely to have the most growth and therefore generate the most impact fees. And I think back sometimes to the time when the goat farm development looked like a real possibility for the ice skating rink. And that's right behind my neighborhood and one neighborhood over from Alderman Garten. And that's an interesting piece of property because whereas my neighborhood is surrounded by Gallatin and the county, that piece of property is surrounded on all sides by Hendersonville. And commercial development can access our market, our demographic, and our population by being in Gallatin, right where I live. ML Rose and Edley's came up earlier. Those are maybe half a mile from my house. You guys have all heard me make fun of my Gallatin mailing address and how I live in Gallaville, but it's true. The lines are very blurry for us, and I would hate for us to lose good projects over an impact fee. So that's one of the reasons that I shy away from from commercial. I think I would like to blame Keith Free for that. Also, the sales tax issue, I didn't know this before today, but we've experienced 92% growth in sales tax in the last 5 years, but not this past year. This past year, it's been a little bit flat. And because of that wonderful growth that we've experienced with our sales tax revenue, we've become a lot more dependent upon it. It used to be 10, certainly 15 years ago, the majority of the city's income came from property tax, and now it comes from sales tax. So, not the majority, actually it is slightly the majority at this point, I think, right there at the 50-50. So, the sales tax revenue is really important, and if we are looking at a place in our economy, perhaps, in the cycle that is a little bit more flat with sales tax revenue, then the only growth we would have there would be from new businesses paying that higher property tax rate. So none of this is to say that I would never support a commercial impact fee. But I think y'all have realized at this point that I am less of a risk taker and quite a bit more conservative with financial issues than most of you, I think. And to me, I don't want to risk that part of our revenue ceasing to grow. I don't want to rock the apple cart until we have some experience. So I would like to ease into impact fees, start small, build up from there. I could look at it again in a year and see if I felt more comfortable with that in a year. But right now, I just want to take baby steps into this. And the reason that I'm responding to the question that was asked about that you would like to hear justification or a defense of the ordinance that the mayor and I put forward. And I think that you'll find that the mayor and I have different reasons. But for me, attainability is an issue. it's also an issue, how do we pay for that transportation plan that we have? Well, we know that impact fees aren't going to pay for it, but if we can have some new and different source of revenue that pays for a portion of it, the portion that increases the flow of traffic, that is accommodating more vehicles, for example, that would qualify. So portions of different projects on the list could qualify for this money, and if there's anything there that can help, it's a new source of revenue. More money's more money. But I do think you have to balance that with attainability. There's been reference to the TASER study and how that said, oh, impact fees are a very low portion of what makes housing attainable. But I read the whole study, not just the summary. And what that study says is that it's a low portion compared to density. The point of that study was density moves the needle on attainability, and I think we all don't want density. And I don't want to cherry pick which portions and take it out of context. When you have an impact fee, it increases the cost of the house for the homeowner. There's no way to sugarcoat that. The homeowner's going to pay more for new construction housing because we have an impact fee. It is. And for every $1,000 that you have, somebody doesn't qualify for that mortgage anymore. So does it have an impact on the attainability of housing? Yes. So we need to balance that attainability with our need for revenue. And for me, I want to take baby steps. I want to start small. I want to go slow. As Alderman Bergdorf pointed out, a different board can change this. A different board can lower it, increase it, add commercial, take the whole thing away. It's not the end of the conversation. Since 1986, when I was in middle school. And the realignment has been talked about since the year I was born. So I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm not young. And so I think tonight what's going to happen is the conversation is going to shift from do we have impact fees to did we do the right thing with the impact fee? And we'll probably continue to talk about them for another 50 years. Or I guess it's been 40 years. But the conversation will shift after tonight. And I think that we've all talked about this. We're basically on the same page when we're just arguing about how to do it. So this is not, it's not a bad thing. We're moving forward since '86. I do have just one question. Lance, you talked about that the proximity of the project that generates the impact fees to the work that gets done with the money. Is that required legally that they have to be close to one another?
Well, they have to be impacted by one another. Does it necessarily have to be in proximity? But if a new development creates a need to widen a road that's ulterior to it, a mile down the road, it's not governed by distance as much as you can show there's a reasonable impact and to the from the development to the fee.
So we would expect that a lot of the new development is going to be in Wards 5 and Ward 6 because that's where we still have some land, not all of it, but a lot. So we can't use that money in Ward 1?
We would have to look at it, if the development doesn't impact, if, from the fees that are generated from that development in Ward 5 or 6,
In terms of roads.
in terms of roads, if it's not, if that development doesn't impact the project for those particular fees in Ward 1, then no, they wouldn't be able to be used there.
Okay. Okay. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Skinner, I've got a question for Mr. Free, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can go ahead with
Mine's going to be long.
Coach Free. Okay. Well, I was just going to have an ending comment, and then I'm going to call the question. So
Well,
do you?
Please let me ask.
Sure.
the question.
Yeah. No. You've been. I mean, you're very open to things like that. So
I appreciate that.
what I'll do is I'll say my comments and then leave it at that. And then when you get through, I'll just say, call the question.
Okay.
All right. Just as fast as I can. Okay, I just wanted to say a couple of things tonight, and a couple of things, but I do want to say this. Rachel, you mean to tell me that you were in middle school when I first, oh my God, I'm going to go home and cry tonight. Oh my God. I'm not even going to ask the other ladies how. Oh my God. Okay, and I'm not that old of a person. So, and yes, you are. Okay. Man, that is 20 lashes with a whip, I'm going to tell you. No, but gosh, kindergarten. Oh, that's even killer. That's even more. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. There goes my dating out the window for Hendersonville. But anyway, no, seriously, but that is amazing because I don't look at you guys that way. So you're just like me and the alderman. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, I thought that was kind of comical, Rachel, that you said that. But it does make me feel old, and can't wait to go home and tell my dog, Andy, what was told to me tonight. But my final question is this, and I know that the mayor has something to ask Keith about. I hope tonight's comments, some of the comments tonight were not scripted, because we're going to get, I would imagine, the possibility of passing any kind of legislation with this, we're going to get sued. And I hope not, but there's going to be a good chance of that. But I will say this: I was amazed by the sales tax comment on that, by saying that was going to save us from our property tax in this town. I have to tell you that that's the most inaccurate statement, period, that I have heard from this board, because that's just not true. That tax will not pay for a property tax for the city of Hendersonville. It was not it's a restricted tax, number one. Number two, it was not designed to pay for the property taxes for the city of Hendersonville. I oppose that sales tax. I continue to oppose it, and it'll be interesting when it comes back before this board whether they'll increase it another 10 years to keep it on the books. But I will never let that comment right there, because that comment was made tonight, but I promise you when it comes budget time, I'll never let that comment go without saying something about the property taxes in this town. And I don't think I've ever done that in 30 years of my life up here. But that's just not true. That tax was designed to save for our property taxes in the city of Hendersonville, because it's not. It never was meant for that, period. Mayor, I guess I'm through. Let me say one other thing. And I do want to say this, and then I'll close. There's going to, regardless of whether something passes tonight, there's no winner in this. And there's no clear-cut winner in this. and you can say, no, the taxpayers of Hendersonville or the residents are gonna be, well, we'll see. That remains to be seen. But don't say there's a winner tonight, because there's not. The future will tell us, just like it did back in 1986, 87. The future told us what happened. And it will do it again this evening in 2026. So we'll see. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, I hope I didn't give the impression, as Alderman Skidmore said.
Well, you sure did.
Well, you weren't listening.
No, I was listening. That's the problem.
Hold on. Alderman
so
Robertson,
let-
go
let-
ahead, and then I'm going to ask my question to Keith. Go ahead, Alderman Robertson.
So I do believe that when you look at sales tax, the PIP is only part of the sales tax that we collect. The other sales tax that has been growing has helped us prevent from increasing property taxes. I believe that. We as a board passed a resolution that we wanted to go on a fixed time to replace our first responder vehicles. We didn't have the money to do that. It was going to be an expensive proposition. So after we passed that resolution, I started working on the idea of the PIP fund to help pay for it. If we did not have the PIP fund, the only way we could have funded the emergency vehicles replacement schedule that we passed would, in my opinion, it's my opinion, is to have to increase property taxes. So the PIP did help prevent us from having to increase property taxes to do these things that we felt like that we needed to do. But the PIP is only a small portion of the sales tax that we collect. And that other sales tax has been growing, and it helps us to pay for more paving. It helps us to pay for more salaries. And, the sales tax is almost equal to the property tax now. And I'm a firm believer that if we have to increase taxes, that a sales tax is a better mode than a property tax, because a sales tax is a tax that people choose to spend, and so it's voluntary or it's not mandatory, whereas a property tax is. So if I gave the impression, Alderman Skidmore, I apologize. I was not trying to say that this would prevent, but I do think that it has helped us to keep property taxes in check. This mayor and this board has not had to increase property taxes, I think, since 2019. I voted against the property tax at that time, but since then, we've not had to increase. And I think it's exponentially true that it's because our sales tax have been increasing. Our property taxes are pretty flat. We could not have operated the city on the flat property tax that we have without a robust growth in sales tax. And I'm hoping that we continue that robust growth in sales tax. Not sure that we will, but if we do, I think it puts less strain on us, demand to increase property taxes. We just, as gentlemen, we disagree. I don't believe, we just disagree, respectfully disagree, and I'll leave it at that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Robertson. Keith, did we have an obligation to seek the opinion of the Planning Commission on impact fees?
No.
You presented it to them last week with your staff. Can you give us a summary of what their thoughts were?
Yeah, they had a lot of different thoughts. They did vote. They did vote to just to recommend to BOMA to continue to pursue impact fees. They just expressed several different things. One of it was to not to stop development, that it just use it as a tool that would be balanced, that would be just find the right fit for it. It was something I didn't put before them, the two alternative choices. It was just the plan itself. But they were very supportive of impact fees in general, but just wanted to make sure that it was right-sized and didn't want to do anything that would that would really shut business down. That's the only thing that they were looking at. But just finding that right fit, whatever that is.
We do have Wendy Slattery here, who is a member of the Planning Commission, and we've been here now for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So Wendy, if you would like to, would you want to give us the thoughts or anything you remember from the Planning Commission? You have no obligation to, but I thought it would be good, since you were here, to give us what some of the comments were, if you want to. You could just say that Keith did a good job, but it's totally up to you.
Add to it.
Just let me dance through this minefield.
Okay.
Don't praise me, I don't want to get a big head.
I think Keith said it all. No, good evening. I'm Wendy Slattery. For those of you that I haven't met, I do serve on the Planning Commission very happily. And I will say that the conversation was robust, just as Keith described it. I think just as you're experiencing tonight, there are a lot of opinions that are coming at this, but ultimately I think the Planning Commission sees that there is an opportunity to do something to benefit our budget going forward without being punitive in how those impact fees are applied. So that's threading the needle very finely in what we're asking you to do tonight. I think one member of our Planning Commission summed it up beautifully that we might have missed the opportunity 10 years ago on this. We've been through a very, very robust period of development, and that's slowing. We know that's slowing. We're running out of land. But also I heard a very talented director of planning for our city say that we're also entering into a very exciting time as we start looking at redevelopment opportunities for some parts of our city. So while it may feel that the opportunity for great wealth in impact fees might have already passed by our city, there actually is a very critical time coming. So it is, again, without solving this issue for you, we're leaving it in your hands. This is a fine balancing act of figuring out ways to use impact fees to our benefit and not to our detriment. And that is the balancing act that I think Planning Commission is hoping to see from you. Thank you.
Alderman Skidmore, do you want to call the question?
Yes, I'll call the question.
Okay. We have nobody else wishing to vote, so if it's okay with you, let's just go to the vote. Jason, are you ready for us?
Here we go.
Okay. So what we're voting on is first reading of ordinance 2025-23. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 20, establishing impact fees for the city of Hendersonville. That is item 4 on your agenda, not item 5. We're voting on ordinance 2025-23. Those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one.
Oh, that'll stick.
And keep it up there, Jason, for us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, stay there, please. So that fails 4-9. Those voting in favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Martin, and Sassy. Those voting against, Alderman Ward, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garden, Collins, Robertson, Evans, and myself. Okay, now we're on the first reading of ordinance 2025-25. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 20, establishing impact fees for the city of Hendersonville. Alderman Collins, would you like to make a motion?
Ordinance 2025-25.
Okay, we have a motion, and then we have a second from Alderman Robertson. I did send you out an amendment that I'd like for you to consider, and Tamara has copies here for everybody. Except for the two that took one already, or exactly, so. Okay. Thank you. So if you go to page 121 and 122, there is, you see the fee table under numeral 2 in parentheses, and it says fee table. What this amendment would do is it would replace from the parenthetical 2 all the way to the parenthetical 3. And you see the fee table would be different. What this fee table you have, single family would be $3,500 as opposed to $5,000. Multifamily would be $2,500 as opposed to $3,498. I do think we need to make a very important distinction here. We've talked about multifamily for a little while ago. I want people to understand we're not talking about apartment complex. We're talking about apartment unit. And I think this is very important. That a house, we anticipate in this report, I think said I'm using general numbers. The average house in Hendersonville is 2.4 people. The average apartment has 1.7. I could be very wrong about that, but the point is that the average apartment unit has fewer people, therefore the impact is going to be smaller for an apartment unit. You put an apartment complex all together, you multiply the number of units there, that's what the impact fee would be. Nobody would ever pay for just one apartment, one multifamily unit. They would pay for the whole multifamily complex. That would be the number of units they have multiplied by the fee. You see what the schedule would be that I provided in my proposed amendment here, but there's a very important distinction. I think this was a mistake, and I think it's important that at the top there, it says 2030, that it should say 2030 and beyond. We actually have a typo at the very top. But anyway, the previous table only had to 2030. I don't think anybody up here anticipated that or meant that we would stop impact fees in 2030. So that's a little bit clerical, maybe a little bit taken by my judgment. But I want you to understand that we are changing. This is 2030 and beyond, as well as changing the amounts. If you look at that table and compare it to what you have on 121 and 122, we would replace that. If you have any questions, please ask. We still go with the formula of 1/3 versus 2/3. Where I came up with this starting at 3,500 is currently Forest Park is the next subdivision to come online, or just to really start building, and they're moving earth right now, that has agreed to voluntary fees. I have a little bit of a hard time talking about voluntary because most of the developers who have offered voluntary fees did it, I think as Alderman Evans said, to grease the wheels. They knew if they didn't offer something that likely they were going to get turned down. So it's not like somebody decided to build something, we said yes, they said, oh, by the way, I'll give you a bunch of money. The bunch of money was to get them to the yes. Forest Park is the next one to be building, and their agreed negotiated voluntary fees are $3,000 per house. I have a hard time with starting at $5,000 per house with an impact fee. If we have a new one coming on, it's only paying $3,000. I just think it's just patently unfair. To say that the next subdivision, whatever it is, that they're going to pay something more, or the houses in subdivisions without negotiated fee are going to pay $2,000. And there's more method behind here too. The overall fee that we are allowed to charge for parks and transportation from single family is $18,000 through the Tischler-Bice study. For multifamily, it's $12,500 per unit. That $3,500 that I came up with is 19.4% of the maximum. The 2,500 is 20% of the maximum. So we're right in there where it makes sense that they are, to me, somewhat equivalent. Granted, they're not 25 and 35. The 3,500 is 19.4% of the maximum that we could charge. The multifamily of $2,500 that I'm proposing is 20% of the maximum that we could charge. And then the rest of the table is there for you to take a look at if you have any questions. Alderman Collins, Alderman Collins, I'm going to make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Since it is our ordinance, I appreciate that. Alderman Collins, did you want to speak on the motion? Did you want to speak on the amendment?
On the amendment.
Go ahead.
Yep. What was that?
So okay, go ahead on the amendment.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that some people are going to say that we are caving to developers by reducing this and the amendment is not appropriate. They're probably going to say that. But I don't feel that way about it. I feel like this is a step closer to striking that balance between attainability and our need for revenue. And the other thing is that we do need to think about the legal risk involved with establishing impact fees and some of the questions that have been raised. And sometimes in the past, I think we all are aware that we walk the line between exacting money and improvements from and other restrictions from people and just being fierce negotiators. I think we walk that line, and I don't want to get too close to crossing the line. So I do think that these dollar amounts feel better to me. And like I said earlier, I want to take baby steps into this, and if all seems to be going well, we can change it in a year, 2 years, anytime between now and 2030. And doing a new study in 2030 could increase it, decrease it, who knows? But I feel really comfortable with these changes in the dollar amount. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Any other discussion on this amendment? Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mayor. Just some clarification, please. The single family, can you clarify residential, what that tentatively means? I think you just did. Did you try to do that? What is residential versus single family versus multifamily? Now, we did identify what is multifamily. Did you already identify what is single family and what is the difference between single family and residential?
Single family is included in residential. Single family is a type of residential.
I understand, yes, sir.
Okay.
Why do we have two different? Oh, I see. Thank you. I'm here.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Jason, ready for us? Okay. So all those in favor of the amendment that you've got here in this sheet, please press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. Okay, so hold that up there for Jason. So that pass, oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Skidmore. Okay, so that passes 10-3. Those voting in favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Ward, Garza. Alderman Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, and Evans. Those voting against, Alderman Martin, Sassy, and Robertson, and I voted for it. So hold on there, Jason. Okay, we're good, thank you. So now we're back on the main motion. We have made one amendment. Let me turn my page here. Back on the main motion of first reading ordinance 2025-25. Any other discussion? Jason, ready for us? Okay. All those in favor of ordinance 2025-25 with the one amendment, please press your green button. Those opposed, press the red one. So that passes 10-3. Those voting against, Alderman Bergdorf and Skidmore and Sassy. Those voting in favor, Alderman Martin, Ward, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, Robertson, Evans, and myself. That passes with a majority vote. Thank you all. Now we're on to first reading ordinance 2025-26. This is an ordinance amending Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 20 establishing credits for assessed impact fees. I so move. And a second from Alderman Collins. I need to explain a little bit what we did here. When Lance and Keith and I started talking about what we had done in the past as far as efforts at impact fees, we knew that sometimes the board got caught up in some details that they were a little bit hard to understand, and sometimes maybe that misunderstanding caused some reluctance on board members to pass impact fees. So we felt that the credits, since it is incredibly confusing, that we should have those stand alone. If the board approves this or approves something like it, then what I suggest we do, and I think Alderman Collins is in agreement with this, is then what we do is we take what we agreed in the separate ordinance, and we would in 2 weeks, we would amend the other ordinance, just to make it a little bit cleaner. But does anybody need, first off, I need Lance to make an explanation here. We need to turn to some pages and listen to him.
Yeah, I apologize, but there's a clerical error. I don't know if the pages got cut off or I cut the pages off when I submitted it, but if you look on page 31, which was the credit section under the 2025-23 ordinance, it's on page 31, where it starts section 20-1408,
through 20-1412. That should be a part of this ordinance, starting at page 131.
Do we need to completely substitute the ordinance, or the language, all the language in the ordinance?
If you just, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
For the credits, it's the same language, it's just, it got cut off.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about that? I know it's confusing, apologize.
So,
Page 31, section 20-1408 through 20-1412 should be part of this ordinance, which starts on, which should be after the number 6 on page 131.
okay. So we really need a page like 131 and a half.
Yeah,
And we would,
well, more than that.
we would take the verbiage that's in, on page 31 and 32 that you just mentioned.
Right,
And we would add it to page 131 and a half.
yeah.
Okay. I'll make that motion. We have a second from Alderman Collins. Is any question on that? All those in favor of making that amendment, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're back on the main motion concerning credits. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you, since either you or the other sponsor, Alderman Collins, explain number 5, please? On page 131, where it talks about the expiration of credits.
And Keith, you might need to stand up here too. So, if somebody has, if a developer, and obviously we're talking about just residential, if they've made an obligation to provide an improvement that was not required of them, that they would like to go toward their impact fees, but they have not provided that, they have not completed that improvement in 10 years, then they've got to pay the impact fees. They could certainly come back here and ask us to give us an extension, and that would be something that would take an ordinance in that case. Am I on target, Keith? I remember this conversation, but it's been a while since we've had that conversation.
I think that sounds correct. I don't think anybody's going to get close to letting it sit there that long for the credit, but it does have at least has an expiration. But that does sound correct to me, Mayor.
Okay. I know it's been a couple
That
months.
answers my question. Thank
Okay,
you.
appreciate it, Alderman Sassy. Any other discussion on ordinance 2025-26? We've made one amendment. All those in favor, please press your green button. Those opposed, press the red one. That passes with a majority vote. The person voting against it, Alderman Skidmore. Everybody else voted in favor. Thank you all. Next, we're on first reading ordinance 2025-24. This is an ordinance to amend Title V, Municipal and Taxation, to allow for the acceptance of partial payments to City of Hendersonville real and personal property taxes. Alderman Sassy, would you like to make a motion? Alderman Bergdorf, is there a second? Yes, sir. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor of ordinance 2025-24, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to resolution 2025-45. This is a resolution to establish the purchasing card policy for the City of Hendersonville and to replace the existing credit card policy dated July 14, 2009, with said purchasing card policy upon implementation of the purchasing card program. We have a motion from Alderman Sassy, a second from Alderman Garza. All those in favor of resolution 2025-45, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we're on to other agenda items, and when we set the agenda, we decided that we would vote for all of these together. And that is the vote on the reappointment of Ken Brinkley to the Adjustments and Appeals Board, a reappointment of Mike McCarroll to the Adjustments and Appeals Board, reappointment of Robbie Borgi to beautiful Hendersonville, reappointment of Darrell Spindler to the Personnel Board, reappointment of Nancy Golden to the Stormwater Appeals Board, reappointment of Steve Gregory to the Stormwater Appeals Board, the appointment of Andrew Haight to the Stormwater Appeals Board, appointment of Sean Campbell to the Industrial Development Board, reappointment of John Shelley to the Industrial Development Board, appointment of Dan Haskell to the Lakeshore Committee, reappointment of Gene Hively to the Arts Council, and appointment of Michael Krasnow to the Beer Board. I need a motion, please. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin and a second from Alderman Garza. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have some brief committee reports. Chairman Garza, General Committee.
Yeah, pretty brief meeting tonight. We sent to Bowman with a positive motion to pass the final development plan for the TBN Music City, which is the Millennial Cottages, which is going to be that retirement community where Twitty City was. We've sent that forward. And the second ordinance was pretty much a cleanup of stuff that goes back to the 90s and early 2000s about the municipal code and personnel rules and regulations. And we kind of let Jason lead us through that. And we sent that also to BOMA with a positive recommendation. And that's oh, real quick, sorry. We did have a discussion about aviation noise. The young man who was on Channel 4, 2, whatever he's on, spoke with us, and we just had a discussion about it. It was just an open discussion, so nothing really done there.
Chairman Garza, thank you. Chairman Goodwin, Public Safety.
We had a brief committee meeting. We discussed street parking and threw around some ideas, and we're going to get back with some ideas. We also welcomed Interim Chief Edwards to our meeting, who is now our chief. So congratulations to him again, and that concludes my report.
Chairman Goodwin, thank you. Alderman Martin, Planning Commission report.
Thank you. First project we reviewed was on the consent agenda, offices for Rock Castle Wealth Management, 4,800 square foot office building at 119 Maple Row. It passed 9-0. Heritage Park, that's our new park plan at 119 East Drive. There was a waiver to stripe the parking medians. We approved that 8-1. Site plans, 120 at Sanders Ferry, owner Stephen Pinier, located at 120 Sanders Ferry Road. That had 3 waivers. We approved that 9-0 with the waiver items going back to the Planning Commission for their approval. Nashville Tempered Glass Warehouse, owned by Grant's Fireworks Property Management, located at 100 Jessica Lauren Court. That one passed 8-1. And then Mansker Farms, this is that troubled house that has the zoning issues that we're working through. They asked to defer it. It's the one at 124 Manor Way. They asked to defer it, and we allowed them with a vote of 9-0. Staff, we reviewed the impact fee study. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. No, the Planning Commission. Staff level projects approved. Rock Castle Wealth Management, 119 Maple Row. Staff level projects pending. C.L. Powell at 134 Powell Drive. First Presbyterian Church Pavilion at 172 West Main Street. Meadows of Indian Lake Phase 4 at 344 and 342 Raintree Drive. Molly Walton Industrial at 157 Molly Walton Drive. And then Stonecrest Phase 5 at 1351 Saundersville Road. That ends my report.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Jesse, Bowman report.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Chief Edwards. I don't recall the last time we had a standing ovation in here, but well done, sir. We look forward to working with you, so congratulations. I also want to have Jason pull up a slide, and we want to give a shout out to John Hinman. He's in our Public Works Maintenance Division, and he re-roofed this pavilion just, I think, a week or 2 ago. Did a great job. Our Public Works Maintenance crew is just really doing a good job. So it was right outside of Mayor Clary's office, so he said, let's make sure that we show this work off. So John's done a great job. Thank you, John. I know you're at home watching, so we appreciate what you do. Just some housekeeping. There's a capital projects meeting next Wednesday, the 21st at 5 p.m. It's going to be fantastic. It'll be a nail biter. So I think Robertson said he is even going to have popcorn for everyone who attends. So we look forward to that being a really good, informative meeting. We're going to spend some time going over the transportation improvement plan, the 10-year plan, and kind of where we're at. So that'll be pretty informative. Our mid-year budget's underway from a staff perspective. So we are already working on mid-year budget. And our salary study is underway as well, too. As you know, we approved a salary study with the last budget, so consultants have been selected. That's going, so we're actively working on that. And then we have round 2 interviews for the Public Works Director that are scheduled for this Thursday, too. So we should have more information on that coming up as well. As far as the BOMA report goes, I'm not going to highlight a lot, but I will highlight a few things. On page 173, we can see that sales tax is up just a little over 3%, and that's really just kind of on track with inflation, right? We're not seeing big gains there. One surprise is that interest earnings continue to surpass budget projections, actually earning more than last year, so we'll be above our projections in that category. Page 174, combined permit and sales tax revenue is down slightly from the previous year, but it's still hovering around the $2 million per month mark. We're also seeing operating expenditures are only up slightly from last year, not even 1%. That will fluctuate month to month. We really don't get a true record of that till the end of the year. And then if you go to page 175 through 176, that's our PIP fund. So everything we're collecting and spending in our PIP fund is there for everyone to see. Collections are coming in strong. The main PIP expenses this year are a fire engine, and for parks, we have the LPRF grant for Heritage Park. So you can see that there's very little spent in parks so far, but there's a lot allocated, and that's just because we haven't broke ground on that project. But we're getting close to the construction bidding process for that project. If you go to page 177 and 178, you can see public safety calls for service remain pretty consistent. To date, we have over 34,000 calls for HPD and over 4,000 calls for HFD. That's from July through September 2025. Page 181, parks activity. We don't have a lot to show in parks activity for January and February. They finally get a break. But like Natalie reported, we had a lot of people driving through the parks for the Christmas lights, and I think there was over 200,000 views on the Festival of Lights, like the Facebook page and all the views for Festival of Lights. I know I recognize the winners up because my kids and I drove around, and they had some pretty good sights to look at. If we go to page 182, Drake's Creek and Stop 30. All the property owners have accepted, and the last check was actually cut this week for the final tract of land that was owned by an individual, so that was really good news. There is a cemetery in that project area, but we have outside legal counsel working on that to get us through that, so hopefully that kind of jives up with our permitting process. That's our final permitting tasks that are in place right now. And then if you look on page 183, at the end of the report, we have low vacancies in police and fire. Police have actually started their pilot 10.5-hour shift program, so we've gotten really positive results on their 10.5-hour shifts. And then fire is going to implement, we just approved this the other day, the lateral recruitment process for 2 current vacancies. So what the board approved for laterals, we didn't know that we would use it much for fire, but we're already going to use it. So we should be able to get 2 firefighters in a lot quicker through that lateral recruitment policy that we have now than what we previously didn't have in place. So I just want to thank the board for their support on that, and that concludes my report.
Appreciate that, Jesse. Alderman Robertson, question for Jesse.
Yes, recently, President Trump mentioned his intent to file legislation or an executive order that would limit large corporations from purchasing homes. And I would like for the staff, this is like homes for rent and homes, institutional corporations that compete with regular homeowners. We've seen a little of that. Mayor, I would like for the staff at some point to brief us on if legislation is passed. If it is introduced, I would hope that this board could, through you, send a letter to our delegation asking that they support that legislation, because the large institutions do put, they raise the price of homes, I believe, by purchasing large blocks. So I'd just like for the staff to keep watch that, and if it progresses into legislation, Mayor, maybe bring it back to the board for us to vote to authorize you to send a letter to our delegation to support
Happy to
the
do that.
presidents on that.
Okay, we can have staff help with that. Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. So next item on the agenda is the executive session. That can only include the board, mayor and alderman, and our city attorney. We do have an item on the agenda afterward, and so we're going to go into the conference room to my right, and I'm not going to make a prediction when we'll return. Alderman Evans.
Yes, I'd like to move that we approve the proposed settlement agreement upon the condition that to the fullest extent of the law, the current and proposed restrictions on rental shall run with the land and shall be permanent, binding, and not subject to amendment, modification, waiver, or termination without consent of the city. This settlement resolves this litigation without any monetary payment by the city, and while it removes the owner occupancy requirement for this specific development, under these unique circumstances, it preserves specific and strict rental restrictions in favor of the city and is determined to be in the city's best interest. The city attorney and staff are authorized to execute all documents necessary to finalize and implement the terms of this settlement.
Do we have a second? We have a second from Alderman Garten. Any discussion? Jason, you ready for us? Does anybody need a motion repeated? All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red. So that passes 8-5. Those voting in favor of Alderman Ward, Martin, Sassy, and Garza. Alderman Goodwin, Garten, Robertson, and Evans. Those voting against, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Dixon, Collins, and myself. Did I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Did I get? Oh, I'm sorry, it's 8-5. That's right. It's 8-5, yeah. You good? Thank you, Jason. We have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn from Alderman Garza, a second from Alderman Goodwin. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank